Hello, everybody. Today is February 21st, 2023. That's right. Almost
Where
at the
did
end
the
of
time
February,
go?
months in. And this is another edition of the MSP Initiative Live. And we will be coming to you live later on this week in Dallas. And that's where our guest speaker is today, Kelcye, at
Yay.
the Right of Boom event or conference. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's get some housekeeping out of the way because, we don't do it now, we'll forget to do it, and that's not good. So this session and every other session is available at mspinitiative.com, or will be available at mspinitiative.com under sessions. You also see their community block parties. Yeah, we all still remember the All-American Rejects in November. Trust me, we got some good ones planned for this year. Just not ready to announce them yet, but stay tuned. What we already announced is 2 in-person 2-day events. So May 8th and 9th in Dallas, your favorite place there, Kelcye, and in Denver, August 14th and 15th. What we're doing is we're bringing experts from around the industry, and here's a few, there's more coming, and we're going to workshop through ideas, not just PowerPoint you, not just give you things to think about, but actually get you past ground zero so you can walk out with a tangible result or work towards that. So absolutely no cost to attend. MSPs are welcome to join. This is us giving back to the community. We're bringing actual smart people in, not that there aren't a lot of them out there, specific people in specific categories so that you can learn about, topics in multiple areas. So check out Community Minds. You can register for Dallas or Denver. Would love to see you guys join us. Lastly is community offers. Only have 3 listed right now. I know there's a handful coming down the pipeline, just companies that are throwing in some special offers for the community, and we're sharing them with you so that you can take advantage of them. So all of that being said, that is the housekeeping. And here we are today on a Tuesday, and it is still unusually warm here in the Northeast. I'm from Philadelphia. Don't hold it against me, but you all know that. And we bring in Kelcye. Kelcye, how are you? It's been some time.
I am fabulous. It has been a while. I'm doing well. I think it's supposed to be like 80 today here in Dallas. So I'm cooking, like we had a freeze at the beginning of the month, but that's all ancient history. There was actually an event during that freeze. A bunch of people got iced out, couldn't get in. And by the weekend,
I heard that. I heard it was like craziness and pandemonium, and the airport was not working and everything was shut down.
Yeah, I think it's a real testament to like what people are willing to do in this industry. People were landing in Oklahoma and Houston and renting cars and driving in.
Wow.
We did the whole Zoom thing with everyone who couldn't make it. We pivoted. It's in our first rodeo, but it was interesting.
I think they say Dallas has like 3 salt trucks for like all 200 square miles of it, and we kind of chuckle up here because yeah, the state of Pennsylvania has thousands of salt trucks.
I've never
like,
seen
hey,
one.
it's snowing. That's okay. You're going to school. I can't imagine what it's like up in Buffalo.
Oh my gosh, I know. They had some crazy stuff this year alone.
100%. Everybody seems to be flying into town. We'll talk about it now because it seems to be the topic of the day for
Let's do it.
Right of Boom.
Boom, boom.
So for those of you that don't know about this is the 3rd year of this specific event. It's meant to be very security focused. Andrew Morgan, who originally started at ConnectWise way back in the beginning, in the early days, and in the early days of IT Nation, where he helped coordinate a lot of things, to my knowledge, is one of the people behind this. And looks like it's right smack in the middle of the country, Dallas. Hopefully no ice and no ice foreclosures, please.
I can't promise that, but I can promise no ice.
Yeah, no ice, please. 80 degrees sounds fantastic. And 3-day event, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'm flying in tomorrow morning. And basically some pre-days, and then you get into the good stuff, right? And I guess the whole idea behind this event is, hey, and I guess I kind of put it on here on the homepage, like the right of boom is what happens when you have to respond and recover from an event, right? Boom is the event. Left of boom is like what you're supposed to be doing ahead of time to prepare in the event something happens. And right of boom is, what do you do after an event happens? So that is the theme of the event. Although there's a lot of non-security folks that'll end up being here just because it's an MSP land, but looking forward to it because I think they're expecting somewhere around 600 people to attend.
That's what I was
That's
told.
pretty good for a third-year event, to be honest.
Totally.
So I've never been to this. I've heard of a few people. I've talked to a few people that have. They said that the content was really good and not very pitchy, which is good. You know, we want to hear actual content, which I think the smaller events that are not the major big guy events, that's where they're kind of catering towards, right? You know, like, hey,
Totally.
you want to network, you want to learn from the vendors in the room, you want to see what they can do for you. Awesome. Like, but they can do that in a non-pitch format, right? I don't need to hear bullet points and PowerPoint presentations. Like, talk to me, right? So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be, based on the past people have gone there, I think it's going to be a very good event. And I'm going to, be on Thursday, we'll be live from there. So we'll figure out what it's all about and who's there. And like, is it actually like meeting the expectation? We'll see. But I think this is in Orlando or Tampa. I think it was in Tampa last year. So they moved it to Dallas this year. So Kelcye, tell me.
Yes, sir.
What's happening at Quickpass? Just seems like your team is exploding. And like I see new faces show up there all the time. So would love to understand like what is going on.
Yeah, well, it's funny. They're new faces, but they're familiar at the same time. So that's nice. Yeah, we are growing a lot. We've got a lot of really good stuff coming out for the year. We're trying to get more involvement with local communities. We're doing our own fantastic forums, is what we've been calling them. Do more smaller, localized for people who can't travel to events as easily as you and I do. And so we've had a couple rounds of those. They've had really good buzz about them. People are excited, also like, who doesn't love a free lunch? Like, I mean, I do. So I actually, at the last one I had, somebody was like, why didn't Quickpass have a Super Bowl commercial? CrowdStrike did. And I said, if you guys want to keep eating lunch with me, like, no Super Bowl commercial.
$7 million for a 30-second commercial at the Super Bowl. So like, if you actually did the math, Rihanna was 14 minutes. How much free publicity did she get? Anyone?
14 minutes worth?
Well, so 7 million for 30 seconds, 14 million for a minute. 14 by times 14 is how much free publicity she got. People may not know this, Matthew Fox. You don't get paid to do the Super Bowl halftime show. You working for free.
Bro, I always get paid. I always get paid.
You get paid in M&Ms or in money?
I'm still waiting on my M&Ms. Is that a point of contention between us?
No. I like to deliver stuff when you least expect it. So that way it's more of a surprise.
I know I haven't been around for a little bit, but it's good to see you talking on my screen. I've never met Kelcye before, but I know a lot of her colleagues. I've known good Jimmy for many years now.
We do love Jimmy.
So anyway, hello. I'm going to quiet down and listen to you guys.
All good. So Jimmy's actually a Philly guy, even though now he's living in New York. He can't hide from his Philly roots.
He's part-time New York. Part-time New York. You say that.
Part-time New York. Anyway, so yeah, so 14 times 14, is how much Rihanna got in free advertising at the Super Bowl. That's craziness.
Yeah. When she pulled out her makeup and touched it up, my sister was like, that's weird. Why did she do that? And I was like, she has a makeup line and this is basically a commercial that she's, in front of the whole world. So yeah, no, that definitely was quite nice. But yeah, no, I told the guys at lunch, I was like, if you want to keep eating lunch with us, no Super Bowl commercials. I'm sorry. It's one or the other here.
Yeah. Can you imagine who has to sign that check? 7 million.
I don't even want to think about it.
I don't want to sign that one.
No.
I don't know if
that'd
the credit card
be a super fun block party, though. I can tell you that.
Can you imagine? I was like, that'd be $7 million in credit card points.
That'd be pretty nice.
Just saying.
Yeah, so we're focused on trying to get more localized with MSPs. MSPs are at the heart of everything that we do, and we want to make them feel appreciated, valued, listened to, and so we are adding those left and right, getting in front of people, and also helping connect people in the area. I mean, last week I did one here in Dallas, and we had 9 people, a couple of them knew each other, but then like now they all know each other. It was a great way to help, connect people who could help each other locally. So yeah, we're doing lots of good stuff. We've got all sorts of content coming out. I don't even know, honestly. I know there's a webinar with Hoodoo coming up. Like there's all sorts of stuff. So lots of good things, lots of changes, lots of growth. And yeah, I'm here for the ride. Is this the boom? No, the boom is a bad thing. To be the right of boom.
Right. So like
It's a
we're
bad thing. I'm
post
sorry.
event, post the boom. That's what right of boom is. I guess boom is like we want to like take the pin out of the grenade and see if that's the event, right?
Yeah.
So
I've also never done right of boom, but I've heard all last year that they were like, this is one you've got to be at. So I'm looking forward to
agree.
whatever it ends up being.
I agree. I know you guys are also going to be at NerdioCon.
Yes, we are.
So if you're not going to be in
excited for that.
Texas, maybe you'll be in Cancun, Mexico.
Yeah, that will be a nice one. Pack your bags, people. I went shopping yesterday.
So you're going to be at both of these or one of these?
Both.
Okay. So
Mhm.
passports needed. Must be valid.
I got mine last year. I'm ready. Nerdio.
Did you know a lot of countries won't let you travel if your passports get expired within 6 months of you being at the airport?
Yeah, I learned that because a lot of my colleagues are Canadian and they've been like, oh, my passport expires in 6 months. And I'm like, okay, why is that a problem? Apparently it is a problem.
Somebody told
some
me
are
that
6 months, some are like 3 months. Like
I have to go validate this, but I thought you always had to go to like, the passport center or post office here in the US. But somebody told me last week, if your passport isn't expired, needs to renew, you can do that online. You don't even need to go anywhere. I'm like, how do you give them, just take a picture with your webcam? How does it work?
Yeah, I know you can do that for like your driver's license, but I feel like a passport's different. I don't know. I got mine for the first time last year, so I am a ways away from renewal.
Yeah, they're good for 10 years usually. And yeah, I guess 20, I got like 2 more years, but you gotta
Okay,
get,
so
you gotta
you'll have
do
to
it
let me
early.
know.
Yeah. I'm losing page. I'm running out of pages in the book for sure.
Well, that's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of international travel. Not like my buddy Tim Tolman, who goes to Mexico back and forth like he's going to lunch. But yeah, he has a special card for that. They don't even have to stamp it.
Ooh.
We go back and forth for lunch.
Mhm.
And you haven't been with us, but that'll change soon.
Yeah, we always eat at the place on the US side of the border. You said it's just as good.
Well, it's different. I mean, true Mexican food isn't really readily available in the United States anywhere. So, except in a couple of restaurants and in our house, because my wife's an excellent cook. But anyway, I digress. And
he knows all about all the cool programs like Nexus and like Global Entry is not even the same thing. Nexus is like if you're going back and across the border, back and forth. I learned that your US car insurance isn't valid that once you go across the border.
That is correct.
You have to have it's another policy for when you're in Mexico, right, Tim?
Yeah, both of our vehicles have full coverage in Mexico because we're back and forth all the time. It's primarily a liability issue. I mean, if you lose your car, you lose your car. But the liability issues, if you run over somebody, you really don't want to go to jail for 6 or 8 days until you can prove, financial responsibility.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, but anyway, I've never been to other than driving across the border a long time ago. I've never been to Mexico. I hear Cancun's going to be great. NerdioCon's second conference there. I think it's been everybody tries to one up each other, right? So Mexico is new. I knew at one point Scott Sanders over at IT Business Owners Group wanted to do a conference on a cruise ship. I think that's still happening sometime at the end of this year. So just everybody likes to come up with an interesting idea. I'm like, hey, listen, you can plan the conference. I'll just throw a party. That seems to be,
there you go.
That seems to be where I can throw some extra spice to it. Kelcye, obviously Quickpass is, in the cybersecurity conversation. There's a lot of, like, I don't have to go very deep into Google News to find, I don't know, every week it seems like there's something. It doesn't take very long. I know, like, just a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you heard this with all of your fantastic forums or just being in the bubble there. that like, all these VMware servers got hit all over the world. And like, it was like a coordinated attack. It was like an old patch that I guess people like either didn't pay attention to or behind on. And then like, it does at least seem like the government security like agencies are at least a little bit up to date on some of the attacks, right? Because they were quickly posting stuff. I'm a little bit concerned, and I was talking to a couple guys over at Zero Trust World the other week. And then we know them all, right? Smart security people like Matt Lee and company. Seems to be like new guidance coming down from the government agencies, kind of messaging like, hey, MSPs might be bad for you. And I always like get bothered by that, right? Because it's like, well, if the small medium business doesn't have an MSP, then they're just gonna have to do it on their own anyway.
Right.
So why message on a billboard, MSPs could be bad. Here's what you should be. Here's how you should be, I guess, vetting your prospective MSP or existing MSP to make sure that they're doing the right things. And I'm like, why not just say, here are the right things? I don't care who's doing them for your organization. You have to do them, or else you're leaving yourself open to a problem, right? It's kind of like Tim's, kind of explanation. Hey, it's a liability thing. If you're driving without insurance, you're gonna have a bad day. So, that messaging bothers me. I don't know, like when you're talking to MSPs about security, I know you guys do a couple of pieces in a very big puzzle, right? We can talk about those in a little bit, but do people feel like they're actually getting a handle of this, or is this still the wild, wild west from your conversations?
Yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned Matt Lee. I actually was with him last night. He's in town for a Ride of Boom. We got a couple people together. We did a 12-mile bike ride, which was great. I was not prepared for the hills on this bike ride. But anyway, afterwards, we were all sitting around talking, and he was actually talking about that exact scenario of, you're being told that MSPs aren't really doing the right thing, but nobody's really like fact checking or saying like, here's what you should be doing type thing. And yeah, he was actually just talking about that last night. I will say I'm learning things every day. So I don't know if I have a super valuable input on my take on things. I mean, I've only been in this industry about 2 years. So I mean, I only know as much as I know. I'm very comfortable asking questions, and there's content everywhere. So as far as if it's still the wild, wild west or not, I am not sure. But
okay,
I know we're in a period of change for sure.
100%. So let's talk about the couple of things that Quickpass does specifically to help the conversation, right? I think you guys have two main things, that two products or modules. I don't want to, take your thunder there, but can you explain to the people who have no idea who Quickpass is, what exactly do you solve for?
Yeah, no, it's not taking my thunder at all. It's good. Yeah, so we have two products designed to help the MSP market. We are MSP founded, and that helps, we're pretty well fit to understand the problems that MSPs face. So we have a privilege access management tool that essentially can just automatically handle the discovery, monitoring, and management of your privileged access or your privileged accounts. So your Azure, your local admin, your Office 365, like we can set that to automatically rotate those passwords as often as every single day. If you let someone go and you need to cut their access to things, you can go in with like just a quick click. I've heard horror stories of techs who were let go, they find a way back in and they cause all sorts of havoc. So that's something that's really nice peace of mind for people to not have to worry about. And then we also have a self-service help desk tool. So people don't have to call into your help desk to reset their passwords. Like your time is valuable, your time spent off hours, on vacation with your family, whatever, like, your help desk's time. We have it where your end users can self-service reset their own passwords, so they don't have to call into you. And it uses their Face ID or fingerprint, so they don't have to remember a master password because they've already forgot this password. Why they remember another? And then there's also an end user verification piece to that. So when people do call in to your help desk, you're able to verify their identity before you reset their passwords. So that way you just have a little bit more peace of mind. AI is a really big thing lately. And I actually had a conversation with on the tech degenerates call that Henry's been doing. So I guess it was a couple weeks ago, somebody mentioned, like AI voice spoofing is becoming more of a thing, like just from a couple seconds of conversation. And so we run into a lot of times, it's like, oh, well, how do you verify that you're resetting the right person's password? And the MSP will be like, well, I know the voices of all my customers. And it's like, eventually that will become more of a threat than it already is, because AI is just improving in that way. So the end user verification is a really solid piece to help, again, peace of mind, just keep things moving without letting the wrong people in.
Fair enough. That's awesome. No, Rachel, I haven't been to Israel. Seeing how Kelcye just got her passport, don't think she's been there either.
Nope. I've actually only been to Cancun. I will be going right back to Cancun, and I'm not complaining.
There you go. We're gonna have to put that on the bucket list there. Could be
My bucket
interesting.
list is Cancun.
Oh,
Her bucket list is Cancun.
she wants, so Rachel wants to go to Cancun. Well, just sign up for NerdioCon. They'll get you right there. But although the people at NerdioCon have already said, our friends Natasha and Joseph Landis over there, they're like, hey, yeah, we want you to go directly to the resort, and we don't really want you to go on like off resort excursions. And I'm like, yeah, no, that wasn't in the game plan. I definitely want to make sure that I don't get disappeared. I'm sure Tim Tolman's cracking up because he's like, oh, it's safe, no problem. I don't know, Tim. I watch all those narco series on Netflix.
Well, we watch the wrong stuff, but no, and I mean, Cancun can be dangerous, wrong place in the right, wrong time, but so can San Diego or Philly or Dallas. So, you get all the bad press, and you also get some people doing some pretty stupid things while they're there on vacation. So, nobody's asking for it. Nobody deserves it, but you need to be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I don't know. I thought it was funny. Before I ever walked across the border from San Diego into Mexico, somebody told me, keep some extra money in your socks. I'm like, I don't know if that was a joke or if you were serious, but okay. Hopefully that's not a serious concern. And Sade says, definitely not a joke. Okay. I think I'm going to stay on this side for a little bit. What do you think, Kelcye? You got to make sure you have some extra socks and money in your socks with you.
Well, I was going to say, Tim mentioned, there's even bad parts of Dallas. My grandma used to ride the train into work, and she said she always kept extra money in her bra just in case her purse got snatched. She had money to get somewhere. So socks, wherever you got to keep it, it's probably not a bad habit to be in. I used to have some in the back of my phone case, slip a couple, 50s back there just in case anything happened. I likely have my phone on me.
Now I'm thinking about it. Do most of the US based carriers include Mexico as part of their like default roaming? I don't know. I haven't checked.
When I was in Cancun last year, I got a message. I'm on T-Mobile. Like when I landed, it said, welcome to Mexico. Like, you're included in your plan still while you're here type thing. So yeah, it wasn't as good, but it worked.
Definitely something to think about. I know definitely when I go over in Europe, I double check to make sure it's on the plan, or if I have to get another SIM card or something, but I'm sure everything has a price, of course.
Absolutely. It's all doable somehow.
Bruce pops in and says, I got pickpocketed in Italy once, and it was the money in my socks that saved me. See, Bruce, they weren't joking. You did it.
There we go.
Hopefully you didn't get beat up, Bruce. I don't know. I try and not get jumped walking down the street in Philadelphia, but apparently
it was actually a grandma that pickpocketed me. I was on a train. No, I was on a train. I was taking a nap, and when I woke up, she was gone, and so was my wallet.
That's pretty. I mean, it's pretty good that she got your wallet without waking you up, dude.
Yeah, but I didn't have anything in my wallet. It was just really a decoy. So
good.
It was all cool. She got a credit card, but it was actually pretty impressive. I had an American Express at that time when I was traveling, and it was true to the commercial. When I got back to Paris, they had an Amex card to me the next day.
Wow.
This was in the 90s.
Wow.
That's amazing. How about that? The commercial actually is true. That never happens.
Good marketing money.
I wonder if people still use like traveler's checks. Is that still a thing?
No idea.
What?
You never heard of traveler's checks?
Oh, yeah, no, we used to use them a lot, but I mean, people won't accept them nowadays because it's too much hassle and the exchange costs are too high. So if you have traveler's checks, finding somebody to accept them is extremely difficult.
Okay. So it's like a old concept. Got it. We're learning here with all these
I
travel.
like this. Yeah, a lot of good content.
Yeah. So Rachel popped in and said, what are the type of people or businesses that need the solution that you guys offer? That's all
Ooh.
you, Kelcye.
Yeah, so we sell to MSPs who support their communities. As far as like what types of businesses, I mean, I guess just as long as you have admin accounts and you have people who are managing those, you have your techs who help onboard new clients and things like that, or if you have a help desk, you have customers end users who need to reset their passwords, and however you're currently doing that, we need it. I don't know if that super answers your question, but
So the one product is like kind of geared for the MSP to use internally.
correct. Yes, the admin password reset is internal, and then the self-service help desk basically is meant for their end users, and I mean a little bit for them, but yeah, it's end user.
So Rachel pops in and says, so if somebody uses Azure or LastPass and forgets, well, Azure, I would think would be tied to Office 365, Active Directory, that whole story. I assume
Yeah.
the answer is yes.
Yes, there.
I would think that from a LastPass standpoint, this could be a quasi-competitive solution to that.
Yeah, we run into a lot. People are like, oh, Quickpass, that sounds like LastPass. So LastPass is a password manager. And we are not a password manager. So yeah, unfortunately, we don't really have anything to do with that. We do have our own password vault, so like for the password rotation specifically, it integrates with IT Glue and Hoodoo, but we do run into some MSPs don't use either of those. So we have a vault that they can then store their passwords in. So they're automatically rotated and stored right there. But as far as like an end user password management, that's not really our wheelhouse. So not really anything to do with LastPass, just a bit different there.
Okay. Well, I think part of the problem is, on the password rotation side, it just isn't happening, right? I mean,
Totally.
we all hear about, well, you should do it every 90 days or 120 days or 30 days or whatever it is. And then like 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, ain't no rotation happening. And then
Totally.
they wonder, like, why did they get hit? And like, I guess the theme here is, well, if people use the same password or like a variation on your password, like you add
Right, the formula, right,
or 2 or 3, and then like the bad guys can automate that brute force attack until they've successfully logged in, right? So
yep,
when you get all of the notifications from the dark web, right? However you're monitoring that, and like I feel like everybody offers that now, right? My credit card company's like, oh, we'll monitor the dark web and see if you're okay. And then like you find out that, hey, Facebook got hit or LinkedIn got hit or Instagram got hit or some, Delta got hit or Marriott got hit or whatever. And then the idea is that, well, if you're using the same password or a variation of the same password across all of your accounts, they can just systematically start going through banks, PayPal, credit card companies. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, how did they figure that out? It's like, well, your email address is probably the same. And your password had a 1-digit character difference.
Yep. Yeah, we had shirts for a while, like our team, like we were giving them out that said rock you, and in tiny words where it's the most commonly used password list that hackers use to initially try to get into your stuff. And, it's password 1, password 1, 2, 3, but yeah, like we've even run into like MSPs will be like, okay, it's client name 2022. And like, that's their admin password. And they do that for everyone. So if a hacker figures it out for one, they can kind of like figure it out for the rest of them. And then they're into everything. So yeah, with this tool, you can set the parameters, be it 99 characters, be it a passphrase. You can set the frequency of rotation to be as often as every single 24 hours, like you do it in the middle of the night. So if someone does get in, it gets changed pretty quickly. You can manually do so. And it will tell you, if you have the app on your phone, it will tell you how many days until your password expires.
Yeah. So like the same problem occurs when an MSP uses like the same local admin username and password, right? Those are just try and standardize, but then like if you're using that across all the computers for a specific customer, or even worse, all the computers across all of your customers, well then once they figure it out on one computer, how easy would it be for them to write a script to just go to hit all computers?
Totally.
So password rotation, you know, and I think we've all seen the chart. I can Google it, pull it up if you want, but depending on how long your password is, like it tells you how long it would take someone to brute force the password based on today's computing resources. And like, that's why they tell you you have to have at least 16 characters or above, because under 16 is like hours, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're constantly changing the password rotation and all of your passwords have a unique password, then even if they stumble into one account, they stop that one, right? Rather than
Right.
multiple, right?
Spreading.
So
Yeah.
I think the challenge is that from an end user perspective, I know that your tool is largely concentrated on, hey, you're the MSP, so you have access to all these admin accounts. But from the end user perspective, the first thing they ask for is to turn off the password expiration, because they get frustrated with it when they keep on adding a character to the end of their password and it says it's not unique, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, in college, I think it was every 30 days, and it was the most frustrating thing. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you know, I hate, the more and more I talk to smart people out there that like live in security land, like the Matt Lees of the world, who are actually pretty fun time at night, which I'm sure you learned last night. The more and more I realize that like 85%, and that's my number, by the way, I haven't quantified it anyway. I'm just kind of like doing this. 85% of all of these security things that we see pop up is really just really large automation of like the most simplest things that if you don't do the things that you're supposed to do, like lock your front door, they just walk right through it. So that's super frustrating. And I guess we can talk about that till we're blue in the face now, or until we do something different. Kelcye, you've been again in the industry for a few years. I mean, it's a very, I don't know, tough industry to come in from the outside, right? Like very tech focused, very male focused, right? Because there's not a lot of women in IT, or at least there wasn't up until this point. Do you see things? Do you see younger people coming into the industry like you? Do you see more females coming into the industry, or is it still very lopsided?
I actually was talking about this yesterday with some of the guys I was with. I've heard some women, some people are like, well, there are women in the industry, and others are like, yeah, they're only in marketing and HR. And while I get that argument, I also think it's a start, like personally, especially getting in, I was like, I'm not technical. Like, I don't know how to do any of this, but yeah, I am on the marketing team. And that's really helped me grow what I know about things. And you have to start somewhere. I do see a lot more young people coming in, and that's something like I've actually started hitting on whenever I present things, from stage, whatever, is that your new customers are coming in. They're getting younger and younger, like you've got to pivot from what you've always been doing to fit this younger generation. And I think the same thing can be said for people coming in just to work in this industry. I think there's a lot of great, like I was saying, there's a lot of great content out there, and you can learn a lot, but I think part of it, you have to have the drive to do so, to want to learn, to seek things out. That's something I've personally been working on, just so I can be more well-spoken. I can be part of conversations and like not just be like, I don't know what they're talking about. So yeah, I'd say it's growing, it's getting better. It's getting a little younger, but we do love the crowd who's been around for a long time, because there's a lot to learn there too.
Okay.
There's room for everybody.
No, I got you. Now I'm going to ask you a very heated question that's been around here over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
When you're looking to get help from a company, right? Are you chat first, text first, or do you pick up the phone and just solve the problem? What brought this question on, by the way, was Frontier Airlines, I'm gonna bring them up until they decide to change their mind, deleted their phone number. You cannot call them for anything. Plane got canceled, you're stranded, you don't know how to get home, you don't know how to rebook, can only chat with them.
Mhm.
So as somebody who's like a little bit younger in this industry, and since you're in the tech land, like think about when you need to call or contact your credit card company, your cable company, you know, whatever, tech support for any product. What's your default path?
Totally. So personally, I prefer anything self-service I can do. Phone call is definitely the last resort. Nothing has worked for me. But I feel like part of that is also a lot of times whenever I call into somewhere, the whole time you're like on hold or waiting, it's like, did you know you can do this online? Like my pharmacy even, like it was all completely automated. And with that, I ended up just going in person because I was like, the phone lines won't let me through because they just tell me to go online. Everything online's not helpful. So, I mean, I live close enough, so I just went in person. But yeah, I'd say phone call is not my first choice unless it's something for work because I need an answer really quickly. And I don't want to be like, well, I sent an email. Like, no, I need the answer right now. So, you know, when booking hotels or anything like that for work reasons, I'll just call because that's typically the most effective way. I can completely confidently say I have never once called American Airlines, which is what I fly with. I've never needed to. I'm either at the airport and I can go just to the desk, or I'm doing it from my phone somehow. Yeah. So I've never called the airport.
Okay. So, but would you do business with a company who doesn't have a phone number available?
That's tricky because yeah, if the automated system's not working, if I'm not finding the answer that I need online, like, yeah, I still would like to have the option to call. I guess my main experience with that would be like FedEx. You know, I'm always shipping stuff and they keep their main number that you can actually get to them at very, very hidden. It takes quite a bit of hoops to get through to get to it. So I don't know. I guess I haven't considered that. I'd say it wouldn't deter me initially, but if I ran into a problem and wasn't able to contact them, then yeah, I'd be pretty upset and probably wouldn't continue with them.
Okay. But so
If I couldn't
basically
get things
like,
solved.
okay, that's fair. What about, so if it's an emergency or you need an answer right away, you want to call someone, or you're going to
Yeah.
be there in person?
That, or I mean, like maybe their online chat is really responsive, you know, really good. But whose is? Like, I don't think we're there
So
yet.
if you need to call 911, do you text them or call them?
I know they actually have a text feature now, but in the past when I've needed to, I have called.
Okay. Just want to double
Though
check.
I
make
will
sure.
say, I called 911 I'm probably a little over a year ago because the telephone pole outside my apartment complex was on fire. And I got the lines are busy, call back later. And I was like, this thing is on fire. What do you mean 911's busy? The fire truck ended up coming, so someone else had to have called. I mean, I was like, okay, I'll call back in like a minute, you know, but they ended up showing
Is
up.
911 allowed to be busy?
That's when you call the hotline. Come on, guys.
What hotline?
What's the hotline?
It was
The
on
telephone
fire.
pole that's on
It was on
fire?
Come on.
I'm going to start emailing 911. Fire, just like IT crowd, right?
Send them the right emojis. They'll respond very quickly.
There we go.
So please tell me you're not sending the fire emoji to your 911 line there, Fat Fox.
Only when the steam powered Jeep
effective.
goes up.
Can only imagine when you get pulled over for that steam powered Jeep. I believe your state's one that wants to outlaw, gas powered vehicles by, I don't know, next decade or something. Memory serves.
It's also the state that wants to eliminate, I want to say, gas heating. Was it?
Could you imagine? Do you know
natural
how long
gas
it would take to replace every gas stove and heater in the state of New York?
I don't. I'm an electric guy. I don't know.
That's a lot of appliances.
It's a lot of less houses blowing up, though. I'm getting sick of seeing that in the morning news.
You're seeing a lot of houses blowing up in New York?
Like at least once a quarter, there's a news story about like a house here on Long Island that's exploded because of like a gas leak or something. That's Long Island. It's not Philly. I mean, we're a totally different breed.
Yeah, Philly, you see other things in the news, I promise. That and yeah, we can, I'm still not over my football depression, but I'll try not to bring it up. Kelcye can make fun of me when we're in Dallas this week.
I did hope you noticed I am drinking out of my Cowboys cup today just for you.
Mm.
I'm not
Thanks
making
for
fun of
pointing
you.
that
I've
out.
been a Cowboys fan my entire life. Like, it's all right. We all lose sometimes.
But don't you lose all the time?
No,
No?
I win in my heart.
Oh, okay.
Hey. You can't lose a Super Bowl if you don't make it to the Super Bowl.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, that's okay. Tim Tolman, next year, they're going to have another game in Mexico City. What do you think?
I think people get killed by the altitude unless you're the Broncos, basically. I mean, I lived there for
Is the
18
altitude in
years
Mexico
and
City that high?
7,000.
Okay.
Here in
I didn't
Denver.
know that.
Yeah, it's pretty high, and then you have the smog component and all the other good stuff. So, yeah, it's a tough environment to play in if you're not used to it. But
So if you had to choose Mexico City next year or a game in Germany,
oh, I'd go to Germany in a shot. Besides talking about T-Mobile and the phones, there's nothing like landing in Poland and getting the first text message. Welcome to Poland. We've got you covered.
is that how that's how the message comes?
That's how it works. Yeah, I agree with Kelcye though. I mean, the especially the internet bandwidth on phones is like really throttled, but voice works, and it works for basic stuff. You can't do like a really high quality Zoom on it, but that's why you're on vacation too.
Right.
That's why you're on vacation, to not be on the phone. I want the high speed, man. I want to be able to get everywhere fast.
So T-Mobile had an outage about a week ago, and my phone only worked on Wi-Fi, and it gave me a very good appreciation for how much we expect our phones to do very quickly at any drop of a hat. Like even my GPS, like I didn't realize how much I just randomly type things into my GPS while I'm not, connected to Wi-Fi. It took 4 days, and I tried doing it online through.
They had a signal outage for 4 days.
No, they apparently had it corrected pretty quickly, but my phone wasn't working. So I was patient, and I mean, I work from home, so I was like, okay, I'm not really doing anything. Like I'd go work out, then come back home. But I finally, I tried to do it through the chat, whatever, online. I tried to solve it there, and they couldn't. So then they connected me, and I was on the phone for like 45 minutes, and it was a nightmare. But I got reconnected. She was like, "This problem was solved," and I said, "Well, not for me, ma'am."
But you had to call in order.
I did have to call. Yep. The automated system was like, basically, the automated system said, "We've already solved this problem. Like, you shouldn't be having this." And I was like, "Well, I still am." So the human aspect helped me there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That stinks that T-Mobile actually had an outage like that, but I guess nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
I also love when you go to other countries and you do Uber, and then they're trying to call your US phone number, but they can't call international. That's a thing.
I haven't run into that, but that makes sense. Yeah.
Maybe you'll run into that in Cancun. I don't know. Not sure if they have Uber in Cancun.
I'll likely stick to the resort, like I was told.
Don't go off the resort. Okay. All right.
I minored in Spanish and Spanish history, and so eventually I would love to explore Mexico, but my grandma has very sternly told me, "Don't go where you're not supposed to go." So I'll please her, keep her happy.
Okay.
So
if you were to give advice to somebody, maybe coming out of school or switching industries for that matter, and looking at, maybe joining IT or managed services land, what would you tell them?
It's funny. I actually have a podcast coming up about this. Hasn't been launched yet, but don't be intimidated. Everyone has their own value that they bring to the table, and your personality is something that you have, and everything else you can be taught, really. Skills can be taught. Knowledge it's all things you can learn. So don't be intimidated by I still sometimes feel that way. I tell people I work in cybersecurity, and kind of look at me like I'm a girl with pink hair. Like, what do you know about cybersecurity? I'm like, I don't know everything. There's power in knowing what you don't know and asking for help, for sure, like I said. But I mean, I have greatly enjoyed my time in this industry. I have met many wonderful people. There is all sorts of community initiatives to include others, to help you meet other people who can bring you up, you know, like we're all better together. And I think this is actually a very good place to be. Just starting out, brand new to it all, like, great, you're in the perfect spot. Like, we'll hold your hand. Come on, get up here.
Do you think that there's a little bit of, an ironic twist to things, because a lot of IT people are naturally introverted, right? Like they're not necessarily the most social people, yet we put them into events and, you know, kind of situations where they have to collaborate potentially with other people. Isn't that like I don't know, apples and oranges situation?
Potentially. But I think when you're in a situation where everyone has to be doing that, there's kind of just this like universal, like, I don't necessarily love this, but we're all doing this together. So, you know, yes, I'm shy, I'm quieter, but like you are too. I can see you're kind of uncomfortable. I'm kind of uncomfortable. I don't know. I mean, I worked in real estate before this, and I never felt nearly as included as I do here. You know, it's like, it's supportive, and I don't know, the things that we're doing, I consider myself decently introverted. Like the things that we're doing aren't asking too much. I don't know. That's a good question. I think maybe I'd have to talk to more people who, at this point, this is my job, you know, like getting out in front of people, all of that. Like, so for me, it's work mode. It's not social. It's not, you know, like this is what I do. What I definitely say, like in my own free time, I'm not as outgoing and socialized and talking to people the way I do. So maybe for me, like I have a switch I can kind of turn on and take off. I don't know. You do run into people. You can tell it's their first time at an event like this, and they're overwhelmed, whatever. But they're such good people that I feel like you get comfortable pretty quickly.
If you were to think back over the last 2 or 3 years, because, you know, obviously still a little bit new to this, what are the things that you know, special things that you've seen at events, or favorite things you've seen that you'd like to see again, or favorite event you've gone to that you thought was pretty cool and you want to do again? Just,
Yeah.
you know, picking your brain.
Yeah. Well, I'd say that there was this really cool extra event that happened where the All-American Rejects performed. That was very cool. That's one of my favorite things to tell people about, you know, and they're like, what do you do for work? And I'm like, well, I do this, this, and this, but you know, sometimes there's a private All-American Rejects concert. So, yeah, I mean, I'll say I have greatly enjoyed almost everything I've done. It's all been a new experience. I look at it with immense gratitude. You know, these are opportunities I haven't been offered before in life, you know, and not everyone gets these opportunities. I have ziplined through, you know, the trees in Charlotte and kayaked the Chicago River and All-American Rejects in Orlando. I learned how to play dice when we were iced in the hotel just a couple weeks ago. Like, I'm just having a good time. I'd say as a vendor, I think I'm not supposed to have favorite events. I've definitely had some that are more fun than others, some that are more education focused than others, some that have super fun communities, and some that I feel like a complete fish out of water in because like I just don't know anyone there. But I do think that they're all great in their own rights. I do love the Exchange and Next Gen, the channel company events. I think those are very well run, makes the most of both the attendees' time and the vendors' time, like the way things are split up. I've never really met a party I didn't like at one of these. Everybody, that seems to be the language that everyone speaks. I love a good theme party, any reason to dress up. Live music's always a great time. And I think that those also kind of in that same aspect of the introverts and like people being shy, that kind of helps put you all at the same level. Like, I feel like everything's a little bit easier after one of those parties because it's not salesy while you're all listening to a concert together. It's just everybody sharing an experience. And then afterwards you have that, you know, something to talk about. That's not just, what do you do for work? What do you like? Oh, don't try to sell me anything. Like I'm just learning. So yeah, I've been offered so many opportunities I definitely wouldn't have had if I didn't come to this job, to this industry. You know, I'm even being here on this webinar. I've done this one other time and I didn't realize that I was also included in that conversation. So yeah, the fact that I can even be here and be the special guest, like that's super cool. You know,
It's all good, Kelcye. Open forum. We always love to bring new people into the mix.
Hey, George,
Yeah, go for it, Bruce.
did you ever go to BrainShare back in the day?
Brand share? I don't think I
No.
did.
BrainShare with Novell NetWare.
No, I never did. Tell me
That-
about it.
Well, I mean, BrainShare, it was like well, I mean, it was like what's the word? A revival for everybody that was a network engineer, you know, back when Microsoft was eating Novell's lunch. But through the 90s, it was an incredible event. I mean, there'd be 10,000 people there, and they would rent out what's in Salt Lake City, it's called the Salt Palace. And it was just an amazing event because they would bring in, like, I remember one year Train was there. They had, and they took us to a jazz game. Just every year there was some big event where they dropped a lot of coin. And it was a mammoth event. And then that also had a bunch of education. So it was a week long, it was like college classes where you have to sign up and book all your classes. There was,
That's cool.
I mean, it was even to the point where, you know, there was decompression rooms and they had chair masseuses lined up where you'd have your catered lunch. It was really an incredible event. It went on for, you know, probably 15 years.
Wow, 10,000 people is a lot of people.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big deal because, you know, back then Novell was king dog, you know, and they had 90% of the market share. If you were doing any type of networking, it was a NetWare server.
That's true. And then Small Business Server came out and kind of just flipped the script.
Yeah, I still swear. I mean, people think I'm paranoid about it, but I was going to school right about the time when NT was coming out. And there was all these ads in the newspaper. I was living in Denver at the time. There's all these ads in the Denver Post for, we need an NT server admin, blah, 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 right? But everybody that was in my class, when I asked them, I said, yeah, I called, but there was no answer. I swear Microsoft was taking out fake HR ads and putting them in the paper to give the impression that you should get your NT admin cert.
That would be something Microsoft would do, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, and at that time, it was when the lawsuits were going on between Microsoft and Novell. You know, Novell eventually won the lawsuits, but they lost the battle. Or they won the battle, but they lost the war. That's the way to say it. Yeah. Because by the time all those lawsuits were settled, that, you know, Microsoft was intentionally breaking Novell's agents. It didn't matter. You know, Microsoft had already killed them off.
It's amazing how, you know, everybody thinks they can win in the courtroom, and a lot of that stuff gets dragged out way long. It's like building anything, right? House, car, whatever. It's like always takes longer than you think that it's going to take to put up anything. Same thing happens in court cases, right? Like drags on and on and on. And like we've all seen the movies, right? Where like the strategy is, can you make it to the end, right? Or did they bleed you out in terms of, you know, the amount of money it takes to continue that stuff? And that's when you always hear well, they're so big, you're never going to be able to get to the end of this. You know, it actually reminds me of, and I forget the name of the movie, but the guy that originally created the windshield wiper, right? And then like GM and Ford and all these people literally just ripped it off. And instead of the dude just taking the payout from all of these companies, he wanted to go the distance, sue them all. And he did win in the end. It took him 30 years to ultimately clear it up.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that story. So when was the windshield wiper developed, or what? You got a patent on it?
Yeah. So, you know, he had created it, he had patented it, and they literally just ripped him off. And they're like, it was literally one guy. Like there wasn't even a company behind him. And he ultimately, before he filed lawsuits against all the major manufacturers, and they all tried to settle with him before they went to court. He's like, nope, I want this on paper. I want the win. And he did. He literally went through, but this guy lost 20 or 30 years of his life fighting this. He did, in the end, he did win. And he did ultimately, in his court payouts, he made what they ultimately offered him before he went to court.
Yeah.
But, you know, like,
yeah, that reminds me, there was a book I read once from about how to be a inventor. And the
Mhm.
guy's opening statement in chapter 1 was, the road is a lot longer than you think. So if you've got a good idea, take it and resell it to somebody and just get your cash payout. Otherwise, all the things you have to go through to get your product to market and actually get a paycheck out of it is way more than 99% of what people can withstand.
It's true. I agree with that statement 100%. It's kind of like Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank, right? Oh, he wants the royalty. He wants a little piece of everything that's ever sold, and he's willing to part ways with the rest. So, yeah, to some degree, that's how capitalism works, right? It's how corporations work. But and I know that if everybody paid for everything that they're supposed to, I mean, how many people are out there using fraudulent software, right? Remember at one point you were hearing commercials a couple of years ago where like they were created an anonymous number you could call in and get a reward fee if you kind of called in and said, hey, I know a company that's using illegal software.
Yeah, that's the number one way to get into the HIPAA violation lane.
That's a good point. All right. But how many dentists and small doctors' offices do you know out there that are like, oh, they're never going to find me?
It's a real common answer. It's a real common answer. Of our medical clients, I'd say probably half are just, they don't care about HIPAA. And then the other half, because of conversations over years, they've taken it seriously and they've put in steps to, have mitigation plans and, HIPAA policies, HIPAA procedures.
I'm too small. They're not looking for me.
Yeah, it's a real common thought process, especially the older ones. So we have quite a few clients that the senior partner is getting ready to retire and they're doing a transition. The younger partner takes it more seriously. But the older ones, they're like, nah, I'm out. I'm cashing out. I don't care. They haven't got me so far. They're not going to get me in the next few years.
It's a pretty common theme, to be honest.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
But, at the end of the day,
it's dangerous because it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when. When is it going to happen? Something bad is, some compromise is going to happen or some event is going to happen to you and take you sideways. I mean, we see it, all of us on this call, we see it, across all of our client population. There's always one person that has something bad going on. You can put all the, the preventive steps in place. Something always gets through somewhere, somehow.
Unfortunately, it's usually just very, very basic stuff, right? Somebody opened up something personal on their work computer and then they clicked on something and yep. It's usually what's in between the keyboard and the chair. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys for jumping on. Kelcye, gonna see you tomorrow. So
yes, sir.
Stay tuned. Should I bring my Eagles gear or should I just not do that?
You could. You do
Okay.
you. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't really picture you in anything other than your Jalen Hurts jersey. So
Yeah. I hear you.
That's your uniform.
I try and be consistent. That's for sure.
I love it.
Hopefully everybody traveling to Dallas this week for Right a Boom. Good luck, safe travels. Hopefully we'll see you down there. We'll be doing Thursday session live from the event. So we'll see what it's all about. And this session was recorded. If you're interested in touching base with Kelcye to learn anything about Quickpass, how do they reach you, Kelcye?
You can email me, Kelcye, Kelcye to get Quickpass. You can find me on LinkedIn. I am supremely active on there, so I will see your messages. And if you're gonna be at Right a Boom, definitely come find me. I've got a big green booth, so I'm easy to find.
I like green. Green's a great color.
Green is a great color. I'm rocking it today.
Awesome. Thanks,
George.
everyone. We'll be posting this session online at mspinitiative.com. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye, guys.